In this video, I'm going to be talking a lot about thought and how we master our thoughts, because oftentimes, unconsciously, unbeknownst to ourselves, thought is just running and going, and we're going down rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and it feels like we're going a million miles an hour through our minds, and we have little to no control about what we think about, when we think about it, and all of this. So in this video, I really want to get into that, and I want to get into how to bring awareness to our thoughts in a way that will allow us to choose our thoughts wisely and really get down to the depth, to the root of why these thoughts are appearing in the first place. And this is going to be a pretty good length video. I brought all my notes. I'm not going to edit it. I feel like it just feels more natural if I just kind of go with the flow, and perhaps I'm going to be looking at my notes. So that's just the way it is. I like to just be in that flow. So I'm assuming if you're watching a video about trying to get your thoughts under control, and perhaps you already know this, perhaps not, but in this current state that you are in, you're currently identifying with the thoughts. You're identifying with your perceived thinking mind. You think that it is you, and you think that the thoughts make you good or bad. So this is why it's often difficult to really wrap the thoughts up and choose wisely, because when we have a bad thought or a negative quote unquote thought, we tend to feel low self-worth. We allow it to pull us down into low self-worth because we think that our thoughts are true. We think that they're accurate, and we think that we must be having these thoughts for a reason. And so every time and whenever you allow these thoughts to pull you down, you're sending your energy out towards that thought, and you're allowing your energy and the energy of the thought to sort of entwine and enmesh together. And then it's almost like a straight shot, shoop, your energy coming from you, and then a thought is separate from you, so it comes in from above you, or my thoughts come in from above me. And so then when I'm identifying with my thought, I send my energy out towards the thought, and then our energies enmesh, and then that's when it kind of just takes off and you go down the rabbit holes. Your energies become one. But you don't have to choose to allow your energies to become one. This is just what happens when we identify with a thought and we think that it's true and we think that it is us. Yeah, so as you continue to feed every single thought that pops into your reality, you're feeding it. It is receiving some kind of nutrient. Called energy is a nutrient. Energy is like having animals at a water source. So you're giving it life by allowing it to consume you, by allowing your energy to flow and intermesh with it. You're feeding it. So the more that you feed these thoughts, the larger and larger and larger they grow, and the more they're going to continue to come back to you, right? They're going to continue to come back to you because you are a reliable food source. You are a reliable source of energy. You allow your energy to intertwine with it every single day when it shows up, so it knows that you are the place to be at if it wants to get fed. The longer the thought has stuck around, the more identified you become with it actually being you, which may create a greater resistance to detaching from and releasing it. So because you're feeding it and it continues to come back every single day, time and time again, you're reliable, it knows it can count on you to feed it, the more you begin to identify with it, because the longer it has stayed in your reality, day after day after day after day, perhaps this thought has been around for years, and so now you don't really know what life looks like without this thought. And so when you begin to detach yourself from it and you begin to starve it It can feel like you're starving yourself because you think that you are the thought. You identify with the thought. So when the thought begins to leave your reality and you begin to starve it, your energy, sometimes it can feel like you are actually the one dying because you've been identifying with it for so long. So it can feel like a death, detaching ourselves from thought. And that is why it's not always easy. And that's why a lot of people go back to thought time and time again, because it's not easy to, it's very simple, but it's not easy, right? And that's why people just continue to go back to it, because detaching yourself from it can be incredibly painful because you think that you're dying, but you're not dying. The thought is dying, and eventually it doesn't want to die, right? The thought does not want to die. So eventually, if you continue to starve it and you just sit in the discomfort of starving the thought by not feeding it your energy, by not believing that it's you, by refusing to go down the rabbit hole with it, it's going to find somewhere else to go. It's going to find somebody else who will feed it energy. So if you just continue to sit in the discomfort, it's going to leave because you're no longer a reliable food source, right? The greater number of repetitive thoughts that you have, the thinner your energy is spread out. An overthinking mind can very well lead to chronic fatigue. You're sending your energy down hundreds of different thought rabbit holes all day long, and most of them you're not even aware of. Okay? So imagine if you're in real life helping or talking to or providing your energy to hundreds of different people all day long. Your energy is spread out and you're going to exhaust yourself. The same is true with thought. It's just not as physically tangible as the analogy with hundreds of different humans. Your thoughts are the same. The more repetitive thoughts you have on a loop every single day, the thinner your energy is spread and the more exhausted you are going to become, because you have hundreds of different entities attached to you and you're giving them your energy. You're siphoning your energy off to all of these different places. Ow. Sorry, my thumb knuckle, something, I messed it up somehow. Now whenever I hit it really hard, it hurts. Anyway, that's away from the point. So yeah, this is why it's going to be incredibly important to bring all of your energy back in. It's like you're sucking it all back in. You're going to feel revitalized. You might have fatigue for a while after, but eventually you're going to feel revitalized because you no longer have all of these holes in your energetic field, right? So where do thoughts come from? What even are thoughts? Why are they around? If they're not my thoughts, where are they coming from, right? Thoughts arise from many of places. Limiting beliefs. If you have thoughts, can be often clues of limiting beliefs that you're holding. If you have a belief that you are never going to make enough money, it was not in the cards for you to be wealthy, you're going to have thoughts all day long that are aligned to the belief that you hold that wealth is not in the cards for you. So all day long, you're going to have thoughts popping up from that, stemming from that limiting belief to almost alert you like, hey, I'm attached to something. Where is this thought coming from? Like, what would a good thought be? You go to buy groceries and the groceries cost $156 and you barely got anything. And a thought arises of like, oh my God, if I spend this much money on groceries, how am I going to be able to afford to pay rent? That is just a thought. It's not true that because you spend that money on groceries, you're now not going to be able to pay rent. Maybe from your limited perception of your world, of your field, that could be true. And maybe it was proven to you in the past over and over and over again. But that doesn't mean that it has to continue to be true. It only continues to be true because you're feeding that thought. You're allowing that thought to you're allowing yourself to consume that thought as truth, therefore keeping that limiting belief alive as well. So it comes from limiting beliefs, memories, emotions. So memories and emotions are things that happened. Emotions are usually attached to thought. A thought will make you feel an emotion, like the thought, if I spend this much money on groceries, I'm not going to have enough to pay rent. An emotion that comes up could be fear, could be anger, whatever it is. The emotion is attached to the thought, and perhaps the thought and the belief and the emotion are attached to a memory of the past, a past instance where you didn't have enough money to pay rent because you bought groceries. That's a memory. And now you're pulling that memory with you into the present and reaffirming that this is the way it's going to continue to be. But the memory is just, it's not real. Nothing is actually real except for this present moment. And the only way that we keep past circumstances alive is through thoughts and memories that we attach ourselves to as being true. Okay, so you kill the thought, you release the memory, you release the limiting belief. Stop feeding the thoughts. Thoughts also can arise from the collective consciousness. So perhaps you're having lots of fearful thoughts and they're not yours. You feel like they don't really stem from you. They don't come from any of your beliefs. Like you have no idea where this thought keeps popping in from. It's not your thought. There's like an overarching field that's around the whole earth. The whole earth has this field around it, and it holds every thought that has ever been thought. You bring a thought into reality, and then it stays alive in the collective consciousness because then everybody else starts thinking it, and it's going to be able to find 1 in 8 billion people to get energy from, so it's going to continue to stay alive. And then it's just going to keep popping in to see where it can get food from. It has 8 billion options, right? It has 8 billion options for a food source to feed it for it to stay alive. So it could just be coming into your reality because it's testing you to see if you would be a good food source from it. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's yours or that it means anything about you. It could just be coming in from who knows where, right? So it doesn't have to be even anything about you. Your surroundings, info and content you read and take in or listen to, music that you listen to, the people in your life that you have conversations with, and the list just continues to go on. Every single interaction in your life creates thought. And if you allow yourself to feed your energy to all of these random, you're not being aware of like what you're intaking. You're just listening to what's ever on the radio. You're just talking to this person at work because that's who you talk to every day, but they might not be the best person to talk to for your mental health or where you're going. Perhaps they have like a really deeply ingrained poverty mindset. And so they just keep reaffirming to you that poverty is true for you and reaffirming to you that wealth will never be something that you can obtain. And you're just taking in all this information all day long that's proving to you that wealth is not possible. Now, there's nothing wrong with that person. They're not a bad person. They're just unconscious and they're perpetuating unconsciousness, but that's not the kind of people you want to be around. You don't want to be around people who are perpetuating your unconscious limiting beliefs. You want to be around people who think bigger, who dream bigger, who make your dreams feel possible. If you are friends with somebody and they make you feel limited and small, perhaps it's time to move on from that person. Not because there's something wrong with them, but because you're moving on. You're moving on to bigger and better things, and you can hope, you can affirm that when the time comes, when they're ready, they're also going to move on. But right now you're ready before them. It doesn't mean they'll never be ready. It just means you're ready before them. And that's okay. Okay, so I wrote, I understand this may feel a bit overwhelming, and you may be asking yourself how you're even meant to become aware and take all of your energy back from all of this many places and thoughts. right? It can feel really overwhelming, like, holy shit, like, okay, so I just have hundreds of unconscious thought patterns every single day that I'm attached to. Like, that's like 100 different deaths. I have to die, essentially. I think I'm gonna have to die 100 different times, right? But the good news is that you can't and you don't need to do it all right now. And you're not even in charge. It's not even your job to figure out what needs to be done and when it needs to be done and what's under the surface. That's not your job. It's not your job to figure it all out. Your job is to sit and be in this present moment. Your job is to take the time to be still with yourself and see what arises. I promise you, when you are just sitting in stillness with yourself, things are gonna begin to arise, whether it's memories, emotions, thoughts. It's just what's gonna happen. Your only job is to sit in stillness and watch as things come up. And it's a practice. You're not gonna be perfect, especially not the first time you're doing it or the second or the third. You're gonna need to commit to this new lifestyle. You're going to need to commit to your belief in a better world, your belief in a better life for yourself. It's something that you have to commit to. Nobody can commit to it for you. This is something you need to commit to. And the first step of committing is, honestly, in my opinion, the first step of commitment is sitting in silence with yourself for 10 to 20 minutes once a day, every single day. That is how you can show yourself that you're committed to this new life. And as you begin to practice sitting in stillness with yourself, things are going to begin to arise, and it's going to give you the opportunity to look at them and choose to discard. Choose, you don't want to think this way anymore. It doesn't feel good to believe that you're never going to be wealthy. It does not feel good to believe that wealth is not in the cards for you. It does not feel good to believe you're going to be poor and struggling forever. You don't have to. It is your choice. It is your decision. You're the only one who can make this decision for yourself. So I need you to commit to yourself enough to, when this belief comes up and you feel this intense fear, maybe shame, you feel this intense anxiety within when this belief comes up, I am never going to be wealthy. Commit to yourself enough to sit with that intense fear, that intense anxiety, and just observe it. Almost like you're becoming a scientist and you're just looking at it from as neutral of a place as possible. Meaning that you're willing to let it go. That's the first step, is proving to yourself that you're willing to let it go. My light turned off, sorry. Proving to yourself that you're willing to let it go by looking at it from a neutral place. And it's not gonna take, it could take just one time, but it could take 20 times of sitting in stillness and deciding to let it go. But it will leave. It will eventually leave. And a new belief will cement itself into your reality, a belief that you do deserve to be wealthy. And perhaps when you sit with this belief, old memories are going to begin to pop up of different reasons why you don't deserve wealth, different reasons why it's never going to be possible for you. Your ego is going to try to play every card in the deck to show and prove to you why you don't deserve wealth, to show and prove to you why you're never going to be wealthy. And it is your job to practice observing those reasons that your ego is trying to convince you with and saying no. And saying no. I am committing to myself. I am committing to my newfound belief in myself, and I'm going all the way. What's the worst that could happen? If I choose to go all the way, if I choose to commit to me, to my new world, to my new life, what's the worst that could happen? Probably that it doesn't come true and you're left disappointed and you're left feeling unworthy. And when that does happen, because there will be numerous amounts of times that does begin to happen, that's okay. You're not going backwards. You're not going backwards. You're going forward and another block is coming up. The ego gets trickier and trickier the closer we get to what we are manifesting. The closer we get to our desires, the trickier and sneakier the ego will get. So you're going to start to tell it no, and you're going to start to be firm, and you're going to start to go all in, and you're going to start to really believe, and then stuff is going to start to happen that's going to make you doubt your path. And this is not where you fail. This is not where you give up. This is where you go 10 toes down, where you continue, you get stronger, you get bolder, you get louder. Scream if you need to. Do you know how many times a day I scream in my mind? Not at myself, but I'm just like so frustrated with all of these beliefs popping up that I literally in my mind will scream. I'll envision myself being on like a mountaintop, just screaming at the top of my lungs because of how frustrating it is. But the amount of times that I've screamed in my own mind, I've never given up. I've continued to wake up the next day and say, I'm trying again today. I'm believing in myself again today. Because I really, truly believe if we continue every single day to make the choice to believe in ourselves, to make the choice to step forward into the new path we're creating, it's gonna happen. It can't not happen. It can't not happen. It's gonna happen. So just keep pushing through. Okay? I got kind of emotional with that one. So I'm gonna do just a quick exercise with y'all to really walk you through what it's like to be present, because it can seem confusing, right? So before we move forward, let's just close our eyes. We're just gonna take 3 deep clearing breaths. In through the nose, deep, as high, as deep as you can. And exhale all the way. Breathe all the way out. Get all the CO2 out of your lungs. Keep going until there's nothing left. And again, breathe in all the way to the top. And exhale. Get it all out. Get it all out. Okay, now start to take normal breaths, but continue breathing. And I just want you to sink into your body. Really sink into your body, okay? Notice what you hear. What are you hearing around you? Perhaps there's an air conditioning unit. Perhaps you hear birds. Perhaps you hear people speaking. Busy city street. Whatever it is, just tune into what you're hearing in your surroundings. And as you begin to become aware of what is in your surroundings, hear what you hear, also what you feel. Do you feel wind on your skin? And then just state to yourself in your mind or out loud, I am aware of the busy city street. I am aware of the feeling of the ceiling fan blowing wind on my skin. And just do this for a few moments. And then slowly, as you sink into your body, into your awareness, I am aware of my hair touching me. I am aware of my shirt touching my skin. Okay, now thoughts are going to start to arise. Thoughts and emotions, let them come up. I am aware. I'm having a thought about what I did this morning. I am aware of this anxious feeling in my chest. I am aware of a thought coming up. What if this doesn't work? What if this really isn't real? Just sit with it. I am aware of a fear arising. What if I really am not worthy of wealth? Just sit with it and say out loud, I am aware of, and then what you're aware of. Don't let yourself go down the rabbit hole with it. Just let it float on by and then move on to the next thing. Come back to your skin. I am aware of a tickle on my left arm. Just whatever is coming up right now. I am aware of a sensation of hope arising in my body. Okay. Now just begin to take a few more deep breaths and wiggle your fingers. And open your eyes. I just wanted to run you through that exercise so that you could get a sense of how you sit in stillness with yourself, how you become the neutral observer. And so I hope that was helpful. It was just a few minutes, but you could sit there hopefully for 10 to 20 minutes once a day and just commit that to yourself, okay? Because that's what you deserve. So whatever it was that came up for you in that time, that you were able to say, I am aware of blank, and then it floated out of your awareness, and then you moved on to the next, you were detaching your energy from it. You were starving it. It was really that simple. You said, I am aware of this, and then you just allowed it to float away. Yeah, it was that simple. You sucked your energy back in from it in that moment. When it floated away from you, you had called your energy back to yourself. So it wasn't in your reality anymore, right? And whatever you found yourself chasing and you just could not let it float away, perhaps you found yourself chasing things. You found yourself chasing your thoughts. Rather than letting them float by, you were following them. And you just couldn't let them go. That's okay. Just let that be for now. It may be like that for a couple weeks when you begin this practice. Just keep at it. Keep practicing. The easier it will become, the better you will get. And this is the greatest gift you could ever give to yourself during this journey. Okay? Keep practicing. I'm going to say it again. It is the greatest gift you could possibly give to yourself during this journey, to keep practicing this. Okay, so the thoughts that you were able to release today, they may continue to come back because they've been getting food from you for quite a while, perhaps. So they know, like, maybe she's just having a weird day. Maybe she's just feeling good today. I'll come back tomorrow and check on her, see if I can sneak back in. Perhaps they're going to keep coming back for weeks or months until they realize, like, oh no, there's no more food here for me anymore, so I'm just going to go to somebody else. Okay, so keep practicing. Ooh. Trying to read, but I've been looking into this light, so I see spots in my vision. Your only job is to continue to become aware as it enters your field and to not cave and feed it with your energy. The biggest challenge is going to be the awareness, especially if you've spent a very long time allowing your energy to run wild with everything. As long as you're persistent and dedicated to your practice, it will eventually leave and find somewhere else. Okay, so now I want to speak a little bit more about thoughts actually becoming your reality. And this is something that is talked about a lot in the spiritual community. I just don't think I don't want to say it doesn't go into depth about how, but I think for quite a while, I personally didn't understand this. So this is going to be the last portion. Thoughts are not physically tangible while they're in your mind, but they are things. Thoughts are things, even while not being physically tangible. Every single thing, look around you. Every single thing around you was once a thought in somebody's mind, and then they used their willpower and their hands to bring it into reality, to create it. Think about how long it took to create a vacuum. Someone had to have a thought of like, I wish there was an easier way to like clean up this carpet or whatever. And then they had to go through all of this trial and error, and perhaps electronics weren't even invented yet, or they didn't know about them yet. So they had to keep trying to find all the pieces to bring it together. And it could have taken years for the first vacuum to be invented, but eventually they brought it down from the energetic. They only had like a kind of unclear energetic feeling about what it would be like until they brought it through their physical vessel and used the tools they had in this physical reality to manufacture it and to craft it and to build it and to bring it into a tangible form that you can physically see and use. So while your thoughts are intangible and they may not always make sense, but there could be a feeling behind them, that feeling behind your thoughts is what you're going to eventually create into this physical reality. And if you're not conscious of what you're creating through your daily life, you're going to create a lot of chaos. And you're going to create a lot of things that make you feel unworthy, because there's a feeling behind your thoughts of being unworthy, and you're just unconsciously going through the motions every day. The feeling of unworthiness and the thoughts of unworthiness are going to take advantage of your lack of awareness to sneak their way into reality to become real, because they want to become born into physicality. Everything wants to be born into physicality, but they need to find a creator being, a human, to either manipulate or to consciously inspire, to bring them, to birth them into this life. So either something's manipulating you and sneaking through you unconsciously in order to be born, or you're conscious and you've linked up with unconditional love. You've linked up with joy and whatever it is that makes you feel good, and you're now consciously bringing that feeling through thought, through the physical, into reality. That might be a little out there, but yes, okay, so the intangible overlays the physical, tangible reality. Behind everything physical is an energy that was born into the physical. So even if something is physical, there's still an energy behind it. Brought it into physicality. This is why we must become aware of our thoughts. For so long, we have been manipulated by these nefarious thought forms and energies into thinking that that have been manipulating us into thinking very low vibrational thoughts full of fear, judgment, and all of this chaos in order to create a specific environment that is only beneficial to a very small group of people. These people are well aware of how thought, energy, and physicality work together and have been using that knowledge for their own benefit for a very long time. And that's honestly where all this unconscious, evil, dark stuff comes from, is it's being created. We are being manipulated in such a huge way so that we can unconsciously bring more chaos and unworthiness and lack and fear into the physical reality, because there are some people on this planet who benefit from that. People who are greedy, people who are controlling, people who want power, they benefit from you unconsciously manifesting these things into reality. And personally, I'm not very interested in these people. I'm not interested in talking about them. I am aware that they're on this planet. I'm more interested in rebelling against them by becoming conscious, by becoming aware, and by becoming the creator that's gonna bring peace, unity, love, joy, abundance into this reality, because that is going to be the only way to shove them off of our planet, is by acknowledging that they're there, ignoring the energetics behind how they're trying to manipulate and control you, and going in the complete other direction and choosing to consciously create something that is going to bring abundance, that is going to bring joy, love into this world. And that is why doing this work is so important, is because each of us is like a little warrior and we're fighting. At first it feels like we're fighting for our own lives. We're just like, holy shit, I just want to feel good. I'm just tired of feeling like shit all the time. I'm gonna fight for me. And then eventually you get to the place where you realize you're not just fighting for you, you're fighting for the entire world. And by you choosing to consciously evolve and consciously bring these amazing things into physicality, you're fighting for the goodness, you're fighting for the light, you're fighting for abundance, for peace, for joy. Okay, so the work that you are doing is so much more impactful than you could ever imagine. And I'm so thankful and proud of you for being here and for doing that work, because I know that it is incredibly painful. I know how excruciating it is. I know. I do. But you are helping the entire world. Not only are you helping yourself and your immediate friends and family and environment, you're helping the entire world. Okay? So I love you so much, and I'm so proud of you. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.